Hi there everybody, Bald&curious here. Today I want to talk about the surplus pistols. One of the channels I subscribed to had just posted a video, well, a while ago, about some surplus pistols, about, I believe, the Polish P64s, the Makarovs, and he was bragging about how much better these guns are because they are battle proven. Well, not in my experience. I spent a year in the Slovakian army. My father was in the Czechoslovakian army. And as far as I know, the only people in the army that carried actual sidearm were officers. Regular soldier only had a rifle. Okay, maybe that was different if you were a crew of armed vehicle or something like that. But most of the soldiers carried only rifle. Now that being said, Czechoslovakia was never really in a conflict. Not counting World War II, so certainly not battle proven. The CZ were exported and copied in a lot of countries, but we're talking more about modern guns like CZ75. The 82s, the 56, not so much. And the reason why I'm bringing it up is you got to understand, back then CZ was pretty much the only producer of guns in the country. So Army came and said, here, design us this gun, and this is what we're gonna pay you for it, and that was it. So there wasn't really military trials, none of that. Here's my CZ56. I got it in my synthetic holster. Now, that being said, this is the prime example. Okay, first of all, this thing is giant. Fires a 7.62 by 25 Tokarev round. Why in God's name you couldn't make it so it at least fits 10 rounds? Okay, it doesn't. It fits 8 rounds, actually fits 9, but then it's really hard to insert it, so it's really 8 rounds. Secondly, this is a single action only gun, pistol, right? So why in God's name you put a decocker on a single action gun? What's the point? What's the point? You decock the gun, you can't freaking use it. So even when you have one in the chamber, you gotta manually cock it. It don't make freaking sense. Okay, it just don't make sense. Why would you do it? Why not just make it single action with a good safety? No, they put a safety and a decocker, and everything's in a weird position. So this is although this is a really good surplus gun, this doesn't go any military trial. It just don't make any sense. You look at the CZ82, that's a little better, but again, there was no trials. There was no comparing it to different guns. Like right now, I know the whole Slovakian military and the police force, they switched to Glocks. Meantime, we have a grandfather that produces guns right in the backyard and produces excellent guns, and grandfather offered them a real good deal on the guns. The Glock won because it's a politics. Glock reps grease the right politician, and they got a contract. That's the way it simply works in Europe, especially in these old post-communist countries. And that's pretty much how it worked during the socialist regime. The people that decided what gun we're gonna carry and what guns we're gonna have, they probably weren't even freaking soldiers. They had something in their heads, like how it's supposed to be. They wanted to look cool, and that was about it. Now, that being said, this is still a cool gun. Fires a pretty hot cartridge. The sights suck on it, and I wouldn't really trust a decocker, to be honest. So if you are considering like carrying it or having it as a home defense, and you want to have it like this, I would either hold the hammer when you decock it, or just make sure you point in the safe direction. So let's take a couple of shots. We'll go, obviously we got to cock it, so we go single action. Wow. I should try this at night. This should probably make a nice fireballs. Like I said, 7.62 is a potent cartridge, good penetration. It's just, in my mind, this is not a military gun. Now, let me show you something else. All right, so here's another military surplus. This is a Walther P38. This one was made in the 60s, so even though the design was designed earlier, we can compare it to a CZ56. Okay, now this one is single action, double action, you know, with the decarker. That makes sense. Okay, it has a slide stop and a slide release. 56 has a slide stop, but there's no way to release the slide. You have to drop the mag, and technically you can't even lock the slide back because there's no button. I mean, there's a bar over here, okay, which follow removes the bar, okay, but you really gotta drop the mag in order to release the slide. Now, same goes, let's say you got no magazine, and if you want to slide, stop the slide back, you can do it, you know, you can push on the bar, but there's no actual button, so definitely not something they thought through. Now, the Walther, on the other hand, you know, it's got all these features, right? You know, you do have a slide stop in the right spot, slide release. That's another thing that a lot of people are talking about. It's not designed to release the slide. Well, if it's not designed to release the slide, why is it contour like that so you can do it? So just because it's called a slide stop doesn't mean it's not a slide release. So let's take a couple of shots from this gun. I did get another magazine. Turns out Meggar makes cheap magazines for like $25. Slide release, you drop the slide, right? And you're ready to go. Now both of these guns have a military style sights, so they leave a lot to be desired, but at least this one, it's dovetailed in, so if you do want to keep this gun for home defense, whatever, you can change the sights on it, and you can have it with a hammer down and a 1 round in the chamber. All right. Hope you learned something. I certainly did. As always, have fun. Keep shooting.